Okay, let's go ahead and tackle this word problem. And this word problem is pretty typical for the pre-algebra, for pre-algebra or algebra 1 kind of level of mathematics. Okay, so some of you out there can be in other type of courses. There's all kinds of math course titles, let's say introductory algebra, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So whatever, math course you're in, if it's not named, pre-algebra or algebra 1, don't worry about it. As long as you're studying basic algebra, this is a type of word problem that you will likely encounter. It's kind of a classic type of problem, but um, a lot of students look for word problems, how to solve word problems. They're like, word problems, they kind of have this expression. Oh my goodness, word problems, it's like scarier than, Halloween or something like that. They're like, oh my goodness, listen, I get it, okay? People don't like word problems. Most people don't like word problems. But there is no like, like, hey, how do you solve a word problem? Well, there's not like one little secret formula to solve word problems, okay? However, to solve any word problem, you need to have math skills, okay? So whatever uh, word problem that you might be encountering is going to be relevant to the topic that you're studying, okay? So if you're studying equations, all right, you need to have equation skills. You really, really have to have those skills down, right? So once you have skills, then you can apply those skills, all right? You can apply them in various applications. You could solve different type of problems. You really got to have this stuff down pretty well. And then once you have this stuff down really, really well, then you can get into word problems, okay? And that's another level of application in terms of problem solving. And it's the most realistic application because mathematics is out there to solve problems. Now, this particular problem is going to involve some basic equation solving skills. I'm going to get to this in a second, but I don't want it to, basically, there isn't any kind of general approach to solving word problems. In word problems, you can always take this general approach, okay? And this is, after you, really have your skills down and you've done your homework and build up your skills, in any particular word problem, what you want to do is the following. One, you need to read the problem, okay? So a lot of you are out there like, yeah, that's not really helpful, Mr. YouTube man. I didn't come watch your video for you to tell me to read the word problem. Listen, just stick with me for a second. You got to read the problem. Now, how many times do you have to read the problem? You got to read the problem like 3 times at least, all right? So the first time, just read the problem, get a sense of what the question's asking, then read it again, okay? Really kind of get into it and think about it, and then you're going to have to go back and really, really carefully read the problem. So when I'm talking about reading the problem, I'm not talking about, all right, I'm going to read it once and then do the problem. No, a lot of students just quickly go through the problem one time. That's not enough. The second thing you need to do is it's very, very helpful to draw some sort of figure, some sort of model, some sort of sketch to map out what's going on. Okay, that's a must. All right, especially if there's something like geometric about it, like in this particular problem. Then the third thing is we need to establish some variables. Okay, we're going to have to figure out what our variables are. And our variables, and we're talking about algebra here, like a variable x represents something. It represents a value, represents a number because we're trying to solve this problem, which oftentimes means solve for a particular variable. Okay, and then lastly, here, let me go ahead and scroll down here a bit. The last thing is we're going to do is we're going to set up some sort of equation. All right, this is fairly typical, and it depends on what topic you're studying. Again, but in algebra, a huge part of algebra is solving equations. So once we have our variables, we want to establish some sort of equation, okay, or equations, and then obviously our last step will be to solve that equation and answer the question. Okay, you got to be very careful with this last step because a lot of students will solve an equation. They'll be, oh, I'm happy. I'm like, oh, I'm just so happy and thrilled. Look at me, I solved the equation. Give me my A plus, give me 100%. But guess what they did? They solved the equation, but the answer, the solution is in fact not answering what the question is asking. Okay, they're just going too fast or too excited, and then they end up getting a bad grade, and then it's like this. They're sad and like, oh man, I knew that. I knew that. That's the one thing I've heard at least 327,000 times in my career as a math teacher. I knew that. But look, I can't even spell that. Look, I knew that. That's my favorite phrase that I hear all the time. I knew that, I knew that, I knew that. Well, if you knew that, you should have done that, right? But listen, I was a student once. I used to say I knew that. Matter of fact, I still say I knew that, I knew that, I knew that. Okay, anyways. So when it comes to word prompts, this is the general strategy, the general approach. Okay, so we're going to go and practice all these things in this particular prompt. So let's read the problem here real quick. So it says the perimeter of a rectangle is 46 inches. We're going to find the dimensions if the length is 5 inches greater than twice the width. So this is the problem that I'm going to solve step by step. Of course, if you want to pause the video and give it a whirl after I kind of gave you a general structure, definitely encourage you to do that. Okay, so I'm going to get into this problem in just 1 second, but first, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John. I'm the founder of TabletClass Math. I'm also a middle and high school math teacher, and over several years, I've constructed what I like to believe is one of the best online math help programs there is. I'll let you be the judge of that. If you're interested, you can check out my math help program by following the link in the description of this video. But basically, I have 100 plus different math courses. I have all the big courses, Pre-Algebra, Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. I'm going to be launching my pre-calculus course here soon, but I have lots of test preparation courses. So if you're studying like the GED, SAT, ACT, CLEP exam, AccuPlacer, ALEX, mathematics, maybe you're going for a teacher certification, nursing entrance, ASVAB, you get the idea. There's a ton of reasons people study mathematics that could be outside of a math course. Okay. Now, I also have a homeschooling system. So if you do homeschooling, I have a great homeschooling course system. And then obviously I help people that are just, struggling in their current math course. So if you're taking a current math course and it's not working out for you, check out my math program. It could definitely help you out. But in the meantime, you have to help yourself out by taking great math notes. This is my golden rule math over decades of teaching the topic. I'm just going to tell you right now, those students who take the best math notes almost always have the best math grades, and the reverse is true. Those students are just not into taking math notes. They're just too cool to take math notes, but maybe their best friends in the back taking the notes down for them, and then they'll copy the notes later. Listen, I'm telling you right now, you got to focus. You got to work hard on taking great math notes. There's no other way. Just believe me on this one. Okay, if you don't take great math notes, don't think that you're one of these people that have like, oh, I'll just remember it. I have a photographic memory. Not in this level of math. There's just too much information. So don't try to cheat the system. If you don't end up taking notes, I'm telling you, always at the end of the year when students are sad and they're like, why did I get this bad grade, Mr. Teacher? I'm like, well, let me see your math notes. Well, I don't have any math notes. What are those? Listen, you get the idea, right? No one should be surprised if they're struggling in math. Okay, if you're doing the work, you're going to be successful. Okay, you're going to be successful in mathematics. So as you're improving your note taking, I actually offer detailed comprehensive math notes to include pre-algebra, algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, and trigonometry. You can find links to those notes in the description of this video as well. Okay, so let's get into this problem. Now, if you want to try the problem on your own, I would certainly encourage you to do that. And if you did it a little bit different way than the way I did it, it's not a problem as long as you understand the solution. And think about also, if this was a test question, your teacher wants to see the format, the structure of your problem. That's very, very important. And so that's why, having things set up the way I'm going to show you is critical. So you want to kind of model the way I'm going to do things. So let's get to the problem and let's read it, right? Let's read it again, right? So here, the perimeter of a rectangle. Okay, we're dealing with a what? A rectangle. So let's just stop and think about this. And we're dealing with the perimeter. So what is that? Okay, well, here's a rectangle, just kind of sketched it out. The perimeter is this total sum of the sides here. So in other words, if I have this side, okay, and I add it to this side, and then I add it to this side, and I add it to this side, this total sum is the perimeter. Now, on a rectangle, we're dealing with a rectangle here, okay? This distance is the same as this distance, okay? And this distance is the same as this distance on when we're dealing with a rectangle. So if you didn't know those basic facts about a rectangle, well, then you're going to have a difficult time answering this question. So you have to know that, right? And you got to know what the perimeter means. So if you didn't know what those terms are, well, then now you know. Okay, so basic math concepts. So let's move on and continue to read and reread this problem so we're crystal clear on what it's asking. All right, so the perimeter of a rectangle is 46. Okay, interesting. If I add up all these sides, it's 46 inches. Now, we want to find the dimensions. Oh, okay, what's that? Well, I want to find the length and width. That's the dimensions, right, of this particular rectangle. So I want to find the dimensions, or find the dimensions, if the length, okay, now we're getting some like additional information here. So if the length here is 5 inches greater than twice the width. So this is the width right here. This is the length right there. Okay, so now I got to kind of like figure out what this means and then figure out this problem. Okay, so now we have to kind of think about variables, okay? So let's go ahead and draw a little sketch. You can see I already did this problem in advance, but let's just kind of look at it right here, right? A little bit neater. So here is a nice, lovely rectangle, and we have our width and we have our length. So let's call this our width W. So when you're in algebra, always use variables that kind of make sense, right? I'm not going to call this like G or X. You know, I could call this X, but it's kind of nice to use a variable that represents the word. Okay, so we're talking about width, so let's use W as our variable. So this is our width. We don't know it, right? This is our width. And then we need to figure out what the length is. Now, this is where we have to go back and reread the problem. Okay, remember I told you about read. We got to read the problem again. So let's go back and make sure that we know what the length is going to be, because the length is going to be related to the width. So, all right, so the length, all right, so let's kind of do this here. You could say I already have it written out, but let's just kind of pretend that we were figuring this out together. So the length is, now this word is in algebra, it means equal, okay? 5 inches greater. So what's, let's just kind of say 5, if something's greater, okay, than 5 inches, that means we're going to add 5 to something, okay? Whoops, that's a terrible 5. So we're going to add 5 inches, okay? The length is going to be 5 inches greater than what? Than twice the width, okay? So this is 5 inches greater than the width, but it's saying 5 inches greater than twice the width, so that would be not just the width, I got to double that, 2W, okay? So that's the length. So we're going to let 2W plus 5 be equal to our length. And now I can kind of see this graphically here in my figure. Okay. Now, if I was your math teacher and you're turning your math test to me, I would want to see this setup right here. Okay. And you got to tell me what the variables stand or represent. Okay. Let W equal the width and let 2W plus 5 equal the length. And here it is in my lovely diagram. Now we're ready to kind of rock and roll and figure out what the perimeter is. Now, again, we got to know by definition, what is the perimeter? Well, it's this side plus this side, plus this side, plus this side. And we know by definition that if this is the width over here, okay, whatever measurement this is, it's the same thing over here, okay? And over here, this length is also going to be 2W plus 5. So I'm going to add all these guys up right here, right? All these expressions up. And I'm told, got to go back and reread the problem, right? You're like, oh boy, he wasn't lying. What about reading? Okay, yeah, no, listen, I've been doing this stuff for a long time. Okay, and I'm telling you right now, read, reread, go back to the problem. So the perimeter of the rectangle is 46 inches. Okay, 46 inches. So now remember, I said we want to set up some sort of equation. So if I add all these guys up, I know the answer is going to be 46 inches. But, you know, all this information just like this isn't going to help me out, okay? I need to establish some sort of relationship such that I can solve for this missing variable W, okay? Well, how do I do that? Well, let's go ahead and make an equation, okay? We need an equation. I know if I add all these guys up, this is going to be 46. So one way you can do this is this way. All right. Okay, the width. How many widths do I have? Well, I have, let's go back up here. I have 2 widths. So if I just double the widths, or I can go W plus W, that's going to give me 2W, or I have this width times 2. Okay, it doesn't make a difference how you want to think about it. Both ways would be okay. So if you gave me a 2W plus 5 plus a 2W plus 5 to show me the entire perimeter equation, that's fine. Or we could just take twice of one side to represent this. So 2 times is 2W plus 5. This right here is a representation of the perimeter, and we know it's equal to 46 inches. So at this juncture in the problem, we need to employ our skills. Again, I wasn't lying to you in the beginning. Okay, word problems are an application of the math skills that you've been studying. So here, this is something on the pre-algebra, algebra level, you know, in terms of solving equations. So you need to have equation solving skills, okay? So hopefully all of you out there can solve this equation. If you're struggling with solving equations, definitely check out my videos in my algebra and pre-algebra playlist on equation solving, or better yet, just jump into my algebra 1 or pre-algebra course. Okay, so here we go. So this is going to be 2W, and I'm going to use a distributor property here. Okay, 2 times 2W is 4W. I already have a 2W, and then 2 times 5 is 10. So let's go ahead and add like terms. 2W and 4W gives me 6W. 6W plus 10 is equal to 46. Now, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 10 from both sides of the equation. All right, now if this is confusing to you, you need to review, you know, basic equation solving. So now I have 6W, it's equal to 36. Divide both sides of the equation by 6. I get W is equal to 6. So, you know, if you were able to get this on your own, definitely give yourself a big old happy face, an A plus. Matter of fact, you might so impress your math teacher, they might just say, you know what, just take the math book and go home. You don't even need to show up in class. I will deliver your A plus at the end of the course because you are awesome. Listen, you're on the right track. If you're able to do this and you know, basically structure this problem in this manner, that's excellent. But now we got to read the problem again. Why do I have to read the problem again? Because we got to make sure that we answer the question. If you stopped here because you were so excited, you're like, W equals 6, look at me, I'm so awesome. And then I would have to go ahead and take some points off. And then you would be like this. You'd be like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I did it right. I did everything right. No. I want the dimensions. I want the dimensions of this rectangle. You're like, oh, okay. No, you just told me W is equal to 6. But what is the length? Well, I got to go plug in. If W is equal to 6, all right, so this W, I got to plug in the 6 for it. So 2 times 6, all right, is 12, plus 5 is 17. So the dimensions of this rectangle is 6 by 17. 6 by 17 inches. So that's what I want. That's the final answer, okay? So be careful with word problems, okay? The secret is what? 1, obviously got to build your math skills, and 2, read until you really make sure you know what you're doing, okay? No need for sad faces. Remember, everyone can look like this at the end of your problem, end of your test. All right, it's just a process, okay? For those of you out there who think that you've been cursed with the non-ability to learn math, please get that out of your brain, okay? What you need is, you know, you need the right math teacher. You need someone to tell you these things. You need someone that you can, you know, you like learning from, okay? That can deliver clear and understandable instruction. Hopefully you have a math teacher like that, okay? Then you got to do your part. What's your part? You got to take notes. You got to work hard, okay? You got to stay engaged, okay? But in this day and age, there's no reason why anyone out there can't excel in mathematics. And that's my job. My job is to keep you motivated, excited, and show you that you can learn this stuff, okay? So I'm definitely going to be doing some more word problem videos in the future. I'm sure I've already have hundreds and hundreds of videos on my channel, and I know I've done word problems before, but I think I'm going to do you know, more. So stick around. So if you like this video, please consider smashing that like button. And if you're new to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing. I've been on YouTube again for a long time. Hundreds of videos organized from basic to advanced math on my channel. Okay, all there for you. But if you want my best math help, you know where to find that. Just follow the links in the description of this video. Okay, so with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your mathematics adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.